What's up guys, enjoy the video and subscribe.
This story is titled, Grandma Told Me to Act Like a Man at her birthday dinner, so I came out as gay, her priest fainted, and now she's writing me out of the will. Or so she thinks. I wasn't even planning to go to Grandma's 90th. That should tell you everything. But my mom guilt-tripped me with that passive-aggressive she might not have another one, which, knowing Grandma's spite-fueled longevity, was probably a lie. The woman's powered by judgment and prune juice. Now before I drop the fireworks, let me set the table for you, literally, since I'm the only one in this family who knows how to fold a napkin without Googling it. Me, 27M, semi-functional adult, graphic designer, single, and surprised gay. Not that I'd told anyone yet. Not out of shame. I just didn't feel like handing them ammo. My family's the kind that thinks woke is a slur. Grandma, 90F, Catholic crypt keeper with a rosary in one hand and emotional manipulation in the other. Imagine a koala but with osteoporosis and rage. My mom, 56F, emotionally allergic to conflict unless it's directed at me. Likes to say things like, "We don't talk about that," especially when I try to bring up therapy. Uncle Greg, 62M, recently divorced, still wears cargo shorts to church, once called Billie Eilish that blue-haired witch. My cousin Melanie, 25F, pregnant with her third child, still insists she doesn't believe in labels, as if that's edgy and not just an excuse for being a chaotic mess in Ux. Okay, so I show up, late, intentionally, hoping I can blend into the background and Irish goodbye my way out before the wine hits and people start doing karaoke. No such luck. The moment I walk in, Grandma stares at me like I tracked in mud on her 400-year-old rug. "Nice of you to join us," she says, clutching her sweater like I'm about to rob her. Dinner is dried chicken, overcooked carrots, and guilt. Grandma insists we go around the table and say something we admire about her. Melanie goes first, says something about how strong and independent Grandma is, which is funny considering Grandma still makes my mom cut her meat. Then it's my turn. And this is where it starts. I clear my throat. Honestly, I admire how committed you are to being exactly who you are. No matter how many people beg you to stop. A few polite chuckles. Grandma narrows her eyes. "That sarcasm?" she snaps. "Nope," I smile, just deeply repressed trauma with a splash of honesty. Cue the look. You know the one. The, "I survived the war for this," glare. Then she says it. "Why don't you try acting like a man for once?" Silence. And I don't know what came over me. Maybe it was the wine. Maybe it was the ghost of every suppressed part of myself banging on the closet door. Or maybe I just finally had enough of hiding to make other people comfortable. I smiled, stood up, raised my glass. Well, in the spirit of manhood. "I'm gay." Melanie choked on her sparkling cider. Uncle Greg turned the color of boiled ham. And the priest, yes, Grandma invited her priest to her birthday dinner like we're in some kind of sitcom, actually fainted. Full-on collapsed onto the baked ziti. And that's just the beginning. You know that awkward pause after someone drops a bomb and everyone pretends they didn't hear it? Yeah, multiply that by 10. Add the smell of expired pot roast and a faint whimper from the priest slumped into the baked ziti, and you've got the vibe at Grandma's birthday dinner. No one moved. No one blinked. Melanie had her fork halfway to her mouth and just froze. Uncle Greg looked like he was buffering. Grandma clutched her rosary like she was trying to summon a gay exorcism. Then Uncle Greg stood up. Slow. Deliberate. Like a Walmart Clint Eastwood with gout. "You think this is funny?" he said, voice tight and shaking. "You think this is some kind of joke, coming in here with your little announcement?" He sneered that last word like it was a disease. I didn't flinch. But my stomach did that slow, cold turn. The one it used to do when I'd hear my dad's truck pull in after midnight, back when we still pretended to be a family. Then Greg stepped around the table and punched me, dead in the face. Right in front of the 90-year-old matriarch, 3 unborn baby daddies, and Jesus Christ himself, who was still dangling on Grandma's oversized crucifix. "Your father would have done the same damn thing," Greg spat, like he'd just honored some ancient family code. "But he's not here, is he? Somebody's got to teach you what being a man looks like. You're not just a joke, you're a damn punchline." That's when I laughed. Blood in my mouth, yes. But laughter anyway. Because invoking my dad? Really? Let's talk about him for a second. His name's Carl. Or at least it was. At some point he rebranded to Rick and moved 2 states over to sell used motorcycles and probably lie about his cholesterol. He bailed when I was 11. One day, we were a family. Next day, I came home to find the garage half empty and a note on the fridge that said, "Don't wait up." Classy. My mom was drowning in bills. Creditors were calling the house so much I started answering the phone in a British accent just to confuse them. "Carl?" Gone like he never existed. Didn't send a birthday card. Didn't call. Didn't even like a Facebook post. Total ghost. Once, when I was 15 and still stupidly hopeful, I found his number through one of those sketchy reunion sites. I called him. He answered with, "Who gave you this number?" and hung up. That was it. That was my dad, a fart in the wind disguised as a man. So when Greg said I was an embarrassment because my father wasn't around to raise me into the hetero dreamboat he expected, I couldn't help but laugh. Because, buddy, if that guy had raised me, I'd be a chain-smoking mechanic with a drinking problem and 3 failed pyramid schemes by now. You really think I turned out this way in spite of him? I said, wiping my lip. I turned out like this because he left. And honestly, best gift he ever gave me. And that's when Grandma finally stood up. Shaky, slow, with that same look she had when the neighbor's pit bull took a dump on her lawn in '03, pure, calculated wrath. And what she said next? Well, that's when things really started to spiral. I sat there, blood trickling from my nose into Grandma's lace tablecloth, wondering for real if I was still required to sing happy birthday after getting decked by Uncle Testosterone. My cheek throbbed. The priest was still unconscious. Melanie looked like she was about to live stream the moment, and I could feel my mom's anxiety radiating off her like microwaved guilt. And just when I thought, well, maybe we can just cut the damn cake and move on, Grandma clutched her rosary, closed her eyes, and started chanting. Loud. Like exorcism-level chanting. Latinish. Definitely not from the Bible, but probably from whatever chain email she thinks counts as scripture. In nomine Patris, et spiritus, homosexualis exitum. I blinked. Is she trying to exorcise me? I muttered, still half laughing, half concussed. Yup. She waddled over, hoisting her rosary like a spiritual fly swatter, and pressed it to my forehead like she was casting out a demon. Begone, gay spirit. Leave this boy's loins. The devil's in his jeans. I lost it. Grandma, I said, trying not to wheeze laugh. I think maybe it's time we had a chat with your doctor. 90 is a solid run. But when you're accusing Levi's of demon possession, we're in early onset Bible karaoke territory. I glanced at the others. Melanie had her hands over her mouth, clearly trying not to snort. Uncle Greg looked like his worldview was glitching. My mom just stared at the carpet like it might open up and swallow her. Amen, Grandma barked. You mock, but God sees your sin. Oh, he definitely sees it, I said, standing slowly. And he's probably scrolling past it like, girl, I've got wars and wildfires to deal with. Y'all figure out your own drama. That's when Mom finally broke. Mother, she hissed, grabbing Grandma's arm, you are not performing an exorcism at your own birthday dinner. Sit down. Eat your damn cake. Melanie chimed in. Yeah, Nana, it's not 1952 anymore. Even Greg, suddenly unsure of his righteous crusade, said, maybe we should just cool it, all right? I saw it happen, that flicker in Grandma's eyes when she realized no one was going to join her holy water parade. So I tried to de-escalate. I even tried to be the bigger person. I raised my glass again and said, look, let's just get back to dinner. Nobody else has come out. No more surprises. We've still got cake. And I don't know about you all, but I didn't get gay just to miss out on dessert. Then she said it. Don't bother, Grandma snapped, ice in her voice. You're not getting a slice. Or a cent. Not until you bring me a real woman and prove this phase is over. The I'm changing it first thing Monday. The demon leaves, or so do you. Silence. You ever see someone slap a nun with a fish in a dream? That's what her words felt like. Even the priest twitched at that one, still face down in carbs, but clearly offended. And me? I smiled. Because you know what? She just made a big mistake. I didn't storm out. I should have. Any sane person would have. But I sat back down, dazed, while Grandma carved herself a slice of cake like she hadn't just performed an exorcism and disowned me in one breath. I chewed a dry bite of carrot cake like it was drywall and tried to pretend my whole life hadn't just swerved off a cliff. And here's the worst part, the part that makes me wonder if maybe I am the villain in this family opera. I wanted that inheritance. Not in the cartoonish, I was going to buy a yacht and name it Daddy Issues way. But in the quiet, desperate, this could fix everything way. Because Grandma? She's not just a tyrant in orthopedic shoes. She's loaded. Like, capital L loaded. When she was 20, she and my late grandpa took their honeymoon money and dumped it all into Coca-Cola stock. Every single dime. Everyone told them they were nuts. Grandpa said, people always drink sugar water. I trust that more than banks. And then they never sold. Not once. They just reinvested the dividends, lived modestly, and hoarded wealth like Depression-era squirrels. No one really talks about it, but we all know. Grandma owns enough Coke shares to fund a Marvel movie, but she still uses dial-up internet and reuses aluminum foil. The will was the family's worst-kept secret. I always figured I'd get something not much, maybe enough to pay off my loans, move out of my shoebox apartment, get off antidepressants that taste like chalk. But now she's writing me out. Unless, of course, I become heterosexual and deliver unto her the mythical real woman, like some kind of gay UPS package. And here's where it gets really messy. Because I had one. A woman, I mean. Rachel. She was kind. Funny. One of those people who genuinely thinks brunch is a personality. We dated for 3 years, and I broke her heart softly, like peeling off a Band-Aid made of hope. I never told her the truth, not because I didn't care, but because I didn't know how to say it without unraveling my entire sense of self. But we stayed friends. And after the party apocalypse, I found myself texting her again. First just, "How've you been?" Then, "Want to grab coffee?" And before I could fully grasp what I was doing, we were hanging out. A lot. Too much. I told her grandma was sick, that she wanted to meet people close to me, that she was getting her affairs in order. Rachel, sweet soul that she is, thought it was about closure. She brought flowers. She wore a sundress. She hugged grandma, who actually smiled and said, "Finally, a girl with a waist." I stood there, smiling like a politician, while my stomach tied itself into origami swans of guilt. Because here's the truth, Rachel loved me. And I was lying through my teeth, dragging her into this theater of deception, all because I needed to be back in that well. I could feel it in the pit of my stomach, this hot, slow-burning guilt. But I kept doing it, because some part of me, some ugly, greedy, tired part, thought, just a little longer. Just until the paperwork clears. Just until grandma croaks. And maybe that makes me an asshole. Maybe being gay doesn't cancel out the rest of me. Maybe I'm just a gay asshole with good taste in wine and a morally questionable endgame. And I hadn't even hit rock bottom yet. At first, everything was working too well. Rachel came to 3 family dinners in a row. 3. That's 2 more than any sane person should endure. She charmed them all, even Uncle Greg, who once called kombucha gay tea, and genuinely meant it as an insult. He laughed at her jokes, gave me shoulder pats like I'd finally manned up, and at one point actually said, "Maybe there's hope for you after all." I almost choked on my wine. Even grandma started warming up. She'd still side-eye me like I was a lapsed altar boy, but the exorcism stopped, and she even sent me home with Tupperware, which, in her language, is practically forgiveness. But let me tell you something, guilt ages you faster than sun damage. I was running 2 lives like a politician with a burner phone. Cute brunches with Rachel on Saturdays, and silent screaming into my pillow by Sunday night. Every time she smiled at me with that "maybe this is working" look, my stomach did another backflip of shame. And it all started to unravel because of one dumb little thing. A Spotify playlist. I made her 1 year ago, back when I was still trying to force myself into the straight mold like Play-Doh in a waffle iron. She found it again while we were in my apartment, talking about old times. She clicked it, saw the title, Our Future Wedding. She smiled. Then she opened the playlist. It was all male artists. Every song. Not a single love song from a woman's voice. Not even a token Taylor Swift ballad. Just 3 hours of emotionally constipated indie dudes crying over other dudes with guitars. "Babe," she said, laughing softly, "this playlist is very bro-heavy." I froze. "Oh," I said. "Yeah, I was going through a phase. Super into, lyrics, guitar riffs, emotional resonance." She tilted her head. That quiet Rachel look she gets when something doesn't feel right, but she doesn't want to be rude. "You've never mentioned any of the girls you dated before me. Like, ever." My brain went blank. Nothing but white noise and inner gay panic. And that's when Grandma, God bless her twisted soul, called me. On speaker. Because Rachel had just connected her phone to the Bluetooth. "Sweetheart," Grandma's voice crackled through the speaker, "bring that sweet little girl over again soon. I told Father Lenny she's your redemption." Rachel blinked. Redemption. She looked at me. Something shifted behind her eyes. The dots started connecting, slowly, silently, like a mental murder board going up in her head. "Redemption from what?" she asked, her voice small. I opened my mouth to lie again. I wanted to. God, I wanted to. But all that came out was this shaky, breathless sound somewhere between a sigh and a confession. She didn't say anything for a long time. Just stood up, gathered her things, and whispered, "I really loved you, you know. I thought maybe we just needed time." She left, and I just sat there, alone, with a playlist full of lies and a future built on borrowed smiles. And the worst part? Grandma called again that night. Said she was proud of me. Said I might just be back in the well. I stared at the screen, feeling like the absolute bottom feeder of the gay community, straight washing myself for Coca-Cola money. And still, I didn't block her. Because apparently, rock bottom has Wi-Fi. For 3 days, Rachel didn't respond. No texts. No calls. Nothing. I kept checking my phone like some desperate suburban dad trying to track a teenager past curfew. Every hour, I convinced myself maybe she was just busy, as if she hadn't just walked out of my apartment after realizing she was the supporting actress in a coming-out crisis disguised as a rom-com. And then she finally answered. Well, not answered. She posted. A reel. Just her. On a hike. Hair up. Sunset behind her. Caption. Sometimes people don't change. They just get better at pretending. No tags. No names. But come on. I watched it 10 times. Couldn't stop. The algorithm even started recommending breakup playlists and therapy ads. Thanks, Internet. Meanwhile, Grandma was thriving. Now that I dragged Rachel into her orthodoxy fantasy land, she started parading me around like I was some reclaimed soul. Told her church ladies I'd return to the path. Gave me her secret meatloaf recipe. Invited me to one of those creepy church brunches where everyone prays for unspoken sins while making direct eye contact. Then she dropped another bomb. I made an appointment with my estate lawyer, she said over lunch. Told him to put you back in. But there's a clause now. Nothing personal. Just a little insurance. I blinked. Clause. She dabbed her mouth like a mafia don in a retirement home. The funds are conditional. You stay with that girl, marry her maybe. Give the family some stability. A little legacy. Otherwise, well, she shrugged. The church gets it. I nearly spit iced tea into my lap. You're telling me, I said slowly, that if I don't play straight for the next 20 years, you're leaving it all to Jesus and Friends Incorporated? She didn't even blink. Better they have it than Satan's handmaidens at your pride parades. She said that. Satan's handmaidens. With a straight face. And the worst part? For a second, just a second, I actually considered it. I imagined what it would take to pretend forever. To find some woman who'd agree to a mutually beneficial illusion. To wear the suit, pose for the Christmas card, smile through anniversaries and hollow birthdays. 20 million in Coke stock could fund a lot of pretending. And then Rachel texted me. Just 2 words. We need to talk. I stared at them for a long time. I hadn't responded yet. Because I knew, deep down, she knew everything. And this conversation, it wouldn't be about forgiveness. It'd be about fallout. I met Rachel at the same coffee shop where we'd had our first date. Which, in hindsight, was cruelly poetic, like returning to the scene of a crime with the weapon still in your pocket. She was already there when I arrived, sitting by the window, sunlight slicing across her face like some judgmental movie spotlight. She didn't smile. I sat, slowly, like a man approaching the gallows in skinny jeans. She started before I could speak. So, was I just a ticket back into Grandma's good graces? Or was that a fun little bonus? I didn't lie. I didn't grovel either. I just told the truth. Or at least a version of it I could finally admit without vomiting all over her oat milk latte. I didn't mean for it to happen like this, I said. At first, I just wanted to prove I wasn't some cursed embarrassment. And yeah, the inheritance, it mattered. It still matters. But then I saw you again, and for a second I thought maybe I could be that version of myself again. The one you used to love. The one who didn't have to come out, or explain anything, or disappoint anybody. She blinked. Once. Twice. Then laughed. But it wasn't joy. It was this sharp, brittle sound that cracked the air between us. Do you hear yourself? She asked, leaning in. You used me. You weaponized my feelings and dressed it up like nostalgia. She wasn't wrong. But before I could respond, before I could even summon the right brand of regret, my phone buzzed. A text from my mom. Come to Grandma's now. She's doing something big. I showed Rachel the screen. She's planning something. I know that look. She probably hired a priest with an exorcism Groupon. Rachel sighed. Fine. Let's go. I want to see how this circus ends. We drove in silence. The kind of silence that isn't empty, it's packed with all the things we weren't saying, like emotional Tupperware ready to explode. When we got there, the driveway was full. Too full. We walked inside and immediately saw it. An intervention circle. Chairs arranged in a semicircle. A massive framed portrait of Jesus on the mantel. Candles. An organ track playing softly from someone's phone. Uncle Greg, arms crossed. Melanie, holding a Bible upside down. Grandma, in pearls, smiling like she just solved homophobia with Pinterest. And in the center, a guest. Someone I hadn't seen in over 15 years. Dad? I said, voice cracking. Carl. Or Rick. Or whatever name he was using now. Standing there like a ghost in a flannel shirt. Hair thinner. Eyes duller. But still very much the man who bailed when the going got slightly inconvenient. I've come to talk, he said. Your grandmother reached out. Told me what's going on. Said you were lost. Lost. I laughed. Loud. Bitter. I'm not lost, I said. I'm just done pretending I'm someone you all would have loved more. Carl stepped forward like he was about to hug me, or convert me, or punch me again for old time's sake. I stepped back. Rachel stood between us. You don't get to have this moment, she said to him, quiet but deadly. You don't get to return for a finale you didn't earn. Everyone stared. And Grandma? Still smiling. Because this was the finale she wanted. A family reunion soaked in shame and second chances. A performance of redemption, with her as the director. I looked around that room and finally understood. This wasn't about faith or tradition or even the will. It was about control. And maybe, just maybe, I was finally ready to let go of what I thought I needed from them. Even if it cost me everything. For a few seconds, maybe more, I just stood there in the middle of Grandma's handcrafted humiliation theater, wondering if I should light a match or just politely flip a table. Carl, my father, was still standing there like he expected applause for showing up to a child's life 2 decades late. Melanie looked like she wanted to record this for TikTok but didn't know what hashtags to use. And Grandma, eternal puppeteer, sat smug in her wingback chair, fingers practically twitching to rewrite the will depending on my next move. I looked at Rachel. She didn't say anything. She didn't need to. Because her eyes said it all. Whatever you're about to do, make it count. So I did. I walked to the center of the room, picked up a random Bible from the coffee table, because of course there were multiple, and turned to my family. You know what? I said, loud and calm. Let's do a little confession. Since we're all here, and God apparently has a front row seat. Grandma's eyes narrowed. The priest's organ music stopped. I'm gay, I said again, slower this time, like I was letting it settle deep into the drywall. I've known since I was 13, and I've spent half my life convincing myself that maybe if I just tried harder, I'd be tolerable to this family. Pause. Didn't work. Greg crossed his arms. Nobody cares that you're gay. We care that you're disrespecting it. Oh, you care. I snapped. You just prefer your gay relatives closeted, quiet, and possibly dead. You care a lot, actually. You just call it values so you can sleep at night. Rachel put her hand on my arm. I kept going. And as for this inheritance? Yeah, I wanted it. I still want it. I let myself get sucked back and played straight, dragged Rachel into it. Let Grandma dangle money in front of me like a piece of bacon in front of a starving dog. Grandma stood. You lied to your family. I lied to survive, I said, turning to face her. You raised this family on fear. You preach forgiveness, but only if it comes with conformity. You talk about legacy, but all you've built is a throne of shame and conditional love. And then I did it. I pulled out the envelope. The one with the lawyer's contact. The one I've been carrying for 2 weeks, just in case. Already contacted your estate lawyer, I said. Told him I wouldn't be accepting any inheritance. Not under your terms. Gasps. Like I'd slapped the Pope. You walked away from me once, Dad, I added, turning to him. But today, I get to walk away from you. I looked at everyone. One last time. Then I turned and walked out the front door. Rachel followed. She didn't say anything until we reached the car. You okay? She asked softly. No, I said. But for once, it's the right kind of not okay. She smiled. Proud of you. Even if you made me the emotional beard of the decade. I laughed. You were the best fake girlfriend a gay man could ask for. Then we drove. No destination. Just away. And that will? Turns out Grandma did update it. Left it all to the church. But joke's on her. Because 3 months later, after a very suspicious leak of church tax fraud documents, those same funds got frozen in an IRS investigation. Turns out you can be gay, broke, and still win. Amen.
Thanks for watching. Bye bye.